Ah, Minecraft. Everybody has nostalgic memory. Nope. I'm not gonna start this like a third grade opinion essay. So the point of this video, if anybody's wondering, is to show the step-by-step process of arranging music for the guitar, from listening to the piece all the way to making it playable. Our goal is to make this as easy to play as possible while still retaining the most recognizable aspects of the original music, namely the bass line, the chords and the melody. Since this can prove to be quite the task, we think you might learn a thing or two about arranging music for guitar and the challenges that come with it. Written by C418 as the official background music for Nostalgia, this is Sweden. But easy. So, since the bass line stays the same during most of the piece, that's where I started. The bass line is also usually where you make decisions like which key to choose, depending on availability of open strings. If you're able to find one where a lot of the bass line is playable without the use of your left hand, you're gonna have a much easier time playing complex chord melodies. In our case, the decision is easy. The original key of D major fits pretty nicely, giving us the possibility to play D and A on open strings if the E string is dropped accordingly. Although I was already pretty sure that I would have to move the bass one octave higher for playability reasons. But for now, let's leave it like that, since musically speaking, the optimal version would feature the lowest playable bass line. The next step is trying to extract the chords from the audio track. They also stay the same through most of the piece harmonically speaking, with only the voicings changing occasionally. The original key is once again generous, giving us lots of open strings with G, B and E all being used throughout the progression. Together with the bass line, the whole thing was still barely playable, but it was becoming obvious that there would be no fingers left to actually play the melody. So, yeah. Suspicion confirmed. On to the next point. At first, losing the low bass felt kinda sad, but then it opened up a lot of playability potential through open strings, so I'm not even mad anymore. At that point I hadn't even realized the full potential, but some things just fall into place, I guess. The open B and G strings in the bass certainly made some chords in higher positions possible that wouldn't have been otherwise. The solution has the decisive disadvantage that some of the basses are played on coated strings, namely the 6th, 5th and 4th string, while the others are not, making a switch in timbre pretty much unavoidable. Except if you're highly trained. But since the name of the game is Playability, I took the hit that would leave any classical guitar teacher devastated. So now we're gonna dive into the chorus. I'm not gonna show the steps here since they're the same as before. Here's what I came up with. And I have to say it's falling into place quite nicely. I'm gonna play most of it in the 7th position. The thought process here is that the highest melody always decides in which position you play. We could also play the B minor in the 2nd position, but then we would have a hard time hitting the high melodies. For the A and the G chord I go down to the 1st position. That's mostly so that we can take advantage of the open strings while also having access to the low basses. The E in the melody is what gives us time to do that, since it can be played on an open string. By the way, if you're wondering why we're playing the basses an octave lower again, it's really just because we can. And it sounds better, even if we're technically not being very consistent. Now we've moved on to the 2nd verse. And I never noticed this before, but there's actually a lot going on in terms of polyphony. What I mean by that is that often there are gonna be 2 or more kinda autonomous melodies at the same time, making our job a lot harder. For example, in bar 31 to 32. Sometimes these are gonna fall just right into place so that we can somehow pull them off with open strings, but others are just gonna have to get simplified. As for bar 31, I don't see us pulling this off without sounding worse than if we just leave it out. Important general note, if you want to keep something in your arrangement because you like the idea of it, but you always struggle when it comes up on the playthrough because it's too hard, just cut it. Oh, and the first 4 bars of the 2nd verse could be played staccato because of the way it sounds in the original. I kind of like the effect on guitar, mainly because the moment everything hits in on full capacity again is just so nice. Now onto the final version, including tabs. I should have done this much earlier so that there can be no misunderstandings on how I would play certain parts. Note to self for the next video. I ended up cutting the part at the 2nd melody at bar 31 and figured out some fingering in the tabs. Oh yeah, and some parts ended up pretty hard actually, so some of them could be made simpler, but I just wasn't comfortable cutting them because they seemed too important. I hope that doesn't make me a liar in your eyes. If you struggle with certain bars, try to simplify them yourself. Bar 22 is too hard because of the left-hand stretch from the G on the 6th string to the B on the 1st string? Okay, don't play the G on the 6th string, just play the open G on the 3rd string. Or maybe that stretch is okay, but playing the second melody from D to E in the higher position right before jumping is too hard? Then scratch the second melody. It's not as important as you playing the piece as gracefully as possible. So there you have it. I hope you learned something and enjoyed the arrangement. If you want to play it yourself, you can download the PDF for free, link is in the description. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more easy guitar arrangements. Thanks for watching, see you next time.